myself sometimes. Welcome to Art 117. We're just going over the two kinds of things that I'm looking for in the first project. I've posted the first project, and so I'd like us to do this. I'd like us to do the isometric projection drawing of a chair, any chair. Hopefully it's getting to be somewhat close to the chair you're interested in for doing this design. And the chair proportions and measurements, where I want you to come in and actually measure a chair. So to do this drawing, I want to invite all of you guys to come to Eden Hall. The doors on the Eden Hall lobby are unlocked today, and out in the lobby, I have put out for you guys tape measures. There's 3 tape measures out there. There's a bunch of cardstock out there that you can draw on. If you can actually draw yourself this kind of a chair, then you can measure the chairs that are in the lobby, and you can transfer the measurements from the chairs in the lobby onto a drawing so that you can have a measured drawing. And I know that, it's hard to get into buildings on campus and you may not have lounge chairs available to you, but I've got 2 different kinds of lounge chairs plus a couple of different kinds of couches. And you could play with the idea of chair design by just measuring these, pick one of the chairs and just measure the chair and put the measurements on here so that you've kind of got some basic measurements of all of the proportions, all of the measurements of a chair that you can then work off of when you're designing your own chair. So this is what I want you guys to do today and over the weekend. And Eden Hall is going to be open all day today. So I've got pencils out there and paper. I've got tape measures so that you can measure the stuff. And I'm putting these drawings out there on the table too, so that you've got these to look at. So please, if you can come by Eden Hall today and measure yourself a chair, that will be fantastic. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. So the thing that I'm doing next, which I would like you guys to get caught up with me. So I want you to do that project. If any of you have moved forward enough so that you have something like this that you want to share with the class, I know you never want to share anything with anybody, but you're sure welcome to, when your turn comes, unmute your mic, turn on your webcam, and hold up, the drawing if you've got it. If you happen to have a JPEG of it, if you happen to have photographed it already and can open the document so it's open on your desktop, you could share this with a screen share. And it would be really fun for us to be able to see what each other is doing, in terms of this isometric projection drawing. While you're thinking about that, and if you have something like that that you can share, you can try to get that together. But I wanted to go into the idea of the next phase of this, which is actually designing a chair and making a scale model of the chair. So I'm going to be kind of flipping back and forth between my talking head view and the overhead view of this while I'm kind of laying stuff out on a piece of paper and actually cardstock, so that you can do this. Plus, I've got a huge pile of cardstock. It's kind of recycled cardstock from previous projects. So it's got printing on the back, but on one side it's still clean, so that you've got cardstock you can pick up here. It's all going to be inside Eden Hall. It's in the lobby on the table. So please pick up 2 or 3 pages of cardstock so that you've got something to actually make your model out of. And so let's turn now to that. I'm gonna go to the camera and see what that's like. Okay, this is my little tabletop. So we're gonna bring the camera over into the center of my workspace so that you can see what I can see and I can see what you can see. And hopefully we're gonna be all on the same page about this. So what I'm interested in the next thing that I'm going to write up is going to be some kind of a plan for your chair, for your cardboard chair. And so being able to draw out the plan, especially if you're going to go the modular route and we're going to fold this up into box forms. This might be a little bit of trial and error because you're going to have to kind of lay out a box form for each module of the chair, a seat, a back, and this is an arm for the chair here. And kind of lay those out as a measured drawing, you know, on your thing so that you can make this 1:12 scale model version of the chair that's going to be your final chair concept. So I've been trying to do that. I took some of the ideas for a basic seat, and then I had to make a 1:12 kind of scale model of that seat. And so my seat was like 24 by 24 inches. And so I scaled that down to 1.5 by 1.5 inches. And actually my chair here is a little oversized because I'm a big guy and I wanted to have enough room in a chair so it was bigger and more comfortable for me. So I kind of designed this chair in the scale model that was going to be like 30 inches by 30 inches. This is a huge seat. This is for a big butt. And so I thought that I had a big butt, and I did this. In my final full-size chair, I actually made the seat 21 inches by 21 inches. So my full-size one, I changed a proportion. I changed a measurement on my final chair. But since I've got this model already made, I thought I would just do these for you so that you could kind of see what this is like. So I've got this seat drawn out here, and the seat is based, you know, on this idea of the square of the seat, the depth and width of the seat being this this proportion. What did I have here for this? I had this 2 inches, 2 3/8 inches was scaled up to be 30 inches. And so I laid this out as 2 3/8 inches to draw my seat. And where I have dotted lines on this thing is where the folds are going to be on the seat. And I try to differentiate the fold lines from the cut lines so that it's a little bit easier to figure out what I'm going to do here. And so my cut lines are going to be solid, and they go all the way around the piece so that they are visible. And so from the seat, I've got the 4 sides of the seat that are going to fold down like a box. And so this is one side of the seat. And then each side is going to need a little glue tab that will hide itself as it goes in there. So I'm just going to label these as tabs because these are glue tabs to glue this thing together. And so that's going to be the outside contours of the seat. And so we're going to fold along the dotted lines, and we're going to cut on the solid lines, and you guys get this. But I don't know. I used to, you know, back in the day, sorry about that. We used to make a lot more models. We used to play a lot more with this idea of cutting stuff out. And I built a lot of models when I was a kid. We made a lot of models out of things that were available in model making books and stuff like that. And so the idea of folding paper and cutting paper is kind of second nature to me. And you may or may not have experienced that in your growing up or childhood. And so it's going to be a little bit of a different kind of a idea for you. This is the seat back over here. And so it's really nice to be able to visualize what these box patterns are going to be if you're going to make a module that has to fold up into a box modular form. And so I, you know, through trial and error, I had to kind of figure out how many tabs I needed to make my modular back for my chair. And even though I did this last year, I didn't preserve the actual original. I think because this is the actual original. I just kind of drew this out on cardstock. I cut it out, I assembled it, I glued it together, and then all of my pattern pieces were gone because they were consumed in the actual making of the thing. So I would really like you guys to be able to draw these out and photocopy them, or redraw them so that you've got them both as a plan that's flat on a piece of paper that you can photograph and upload for this project, but also so that you can keep them so that you know exactly what this pattern looks like when you have to lay this out full size on a sheet of cardboard and cut it out. So there's a lot of value in actually making these things and having both the model and the unassembled, flat pattern pieces, so that you can really visualize what these things look like. This is the strange thing about trying to go from two-dimensional to three-dimensional object, is being able to make that synthesis, that brain switch of what these things look like. So anyway, I've got this kind of laid out as the seat form, the seat module, and the seat back module. And this is the top surface of the seat back right here, is this thing right here. But I've also got glue tabs that I need. This is the side. This is one of the side surfaces of the seat. This is another side surface of the seat. But this is a glue tab so that I can glue this thing together. And the glue tab's a little bit narrower than the actual sides of this thing. And this is also one more glue tab up here to be able to glue this together as a box form. So we kind of need our glue tabs to be considered and built into the concept, so that we can know how we're going to be assembling this thing, and what's going to be actual surfaces that we're working with, and what are going to be the tabs of the box that get hidden underneath the surfaces and are part of the structure that helps glue it together. So having said all that, in kind of a dumb way, sorry about that, I'm going to take this concept and I'm going to roll with it a little bit. So I'm trying to lay this out. Here we go. Let's do it on this one. I'm laying this out then on a piece of cardstock so I can cut it out. So let's do this in terms of the seat. Let's do it right like this so you guys can see this. So this is my seat drawing over here. This is the plan for the seat, and this is me actually trying to lay this out on cardstock so that I can cut this out and construct this as a thing. And so I've got the seat right here and the four sides of the seat, and I still don't have the tabs laid out here. So I was going to go ahead and lay out these tabs, the glue tabs for this thing. I like to bevel the glue tabs just a little bit, because they do tend to run into they tend to be a little bit big or a little bit proud, and they tend to jam up your edges and corners as you're trying to fold the thing together. So instead of coming straight out as a rectangular form, I am cutting an angle off of the edges of the tabs a little bit, so that they can try to stay out of my own way when I'm gluing this together. So this is a tab, 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 tab. Okay, and the rest of this is going to be my seat that I laid out here. Now, I was trying to figure out how to do this, and so what I did was I actually drew my seat out first, and I tried to make it my my 30 by 30 inch thing. So it wound up being 2 3/8 inches by 2 3/8 inches as a square. So fantastic. So I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I lay this out so that I can actually get these trapezoidal shapes so that they come in the same distance on both sides. And the easiest way for me to do that was to extend my lines from the basic seat square, to extend my lines out. And then I measured out from these lines my 17-inch seat height, which wound up being 1 3/8 coming out to here. And I measured out a couple places and I put a couple of tick marks, and then I joined the tick marks together to create these kind of baselines here that are defining the outside edges here. So I did that, and I extended this out so that it kind of made this kind of red cross kind of a thing, so that I've got these lines coming out. And all I did was then kind of look at how much angle in do I want to come in. And it wasn't really the angle so much as how much distance do I want to come in to get a comfortable angle on my seat. And the answer to that was a 1/4 of an inch when I was making the scale model. So I actually just, from this straight line coming out this way, I came in a 1/4 of an inch right here. I came in a 1/4 of an inch and marked it. I came in a 1/4 of an inch and marked it, and then drew my trapezoidal shape for the seat. And that's kind of how I came up with my seat angles for this thing. Sometimes you're going to be making guesstimates and you're going to be doing this by the seat of your pants, and you're not going to really know whether it's right or not. So this could be too big of an angle, this could be not enough of an angle, and you're going to have to try it. And then if you don't like it, you can always take it apart again as a model, and you can trim this down and make it a little bit tighter. It's kind of hard to add back on, so that's a thing. Anyway, this is the seat in the plan. This is the seat as laid out on a piece of cardstock. Let's cut this out now and actually fold this up so we can really see what a module folds up like for the scale model of this thing. I know you guys have seen me do this for several times now, and it's getting to be a little bit boring. I'm sorry. I understand. But I think you're going to need to repeat this several times, and don't be afraid of failure, because failure is one of the ways that we learn in this process, is by making things and then going through the oops process. So I'm going to cut this out, and I'm sorry, I'm getting myself off camera here. Not only is doing a demonstration and a talk, an interesting and difficult kind of a thing if you've ever taken public speaking, but trying to do it on camera and making sure that you are visible and that you're centered in the shot. You kind of have to be, director, camera person, camera operator, and presenter kind of all in one. So I have to kind of remind myself to look up every once in a while so I can check and see if I'm in the middle of the shot, so that you guys can see what it is I'm doing, so that this isn't just a really stupid, poorly done presentation. And some of you guys have said that you like the sound of my voice. So I guess presentation is kind of an important part of this teaching and learning process, is kind of walking us through this whole presentation thing. So I want to fold this module up now and glue it together to make a 3-dimensional seat. So this is the plan, this is the module cut out. We're going to fold this bad boy up. I'm going to fold my seat sides down from the seat surface, and I'm going to fold my tabs in. I'm going to hit them with some glue stick or white glue. Whatever you happen to have on hand will be fantastic. Lick them, stick them, whatever it takes to get this thing put together. And I'm also gonna fold my tabs on the tab lines so that I've got my trapezoidal sides, and this is all going to get glued together, and it's going to be fantastic. And I thought that I should just continually demonstrate this stuff, because I don't know how this is communicating to you guys and whether you guys are getting this or not. It's not like you're dumb or anything, but many of you are not designers. Many of you haven't like built a lot of these hand-eye coordination skill things over time because you haven't taken a lot of art classes. So, you know, I'm doing all of this demonstration for the people who are not the art people in the room, because I think everybody can be a designer. You don't have, there's nothing special, you know, about being an artist and being a designer. It's just experience. It's just doing it and doing it over and over again. So I'm putting glue on my glue tabs and putting my glue tabs behind. I always like to hide the stuff. If you can hide the glue tabs so that they're not, you know, visible, then they're not something that becomes a visual distraction to the user, the end user, or the viewer. And so now we do have our seat assembled as a three-dimensional object, and this seat happens to have the trapezoidal shape to it so that it can, you know, do what the seat does, which is allow the arms to come out at an angle and allow the seat back to also have an angle that kind of comes up, so that I get this really postmodern kind of an approach to a chair. I lived through the 1990s, and we called that the postmodern age. Actually, it was the 1980s and early 90s was postmodernism, where a lot of the ideas of geometry were coming back into architecture and furniture design and everything else. That was the age of the great big giant shoulder pads in fashions and the big crazy hair with lots of product in it and stuff like that. And so I actually have had chairs like this too that were designed and built with the crazy geometric prints, and then also crazy geometric forms that were done in the 1990s. And so this is the basic unit that I'm going to be working off of. So once I make this, I can then fold up, I can lay out, cut out, and fold up my seat back and glue the seat back to this. And then the seat back will also have the geometry of a trapezoid. And then even the arms on this chair are trapezoidal. And so they kind of, they're a continuation of both the seat combined with the back. The seat and the back are glued together, and then the arm goes all the way out to the back of the seat back and all the way out to the front of the seat itself. And by gluing the arm onto the side, it really does create a super strong, durable system that helps to keep this whole thing together, even when I sit on this chair and I weigh almost 300 pounds. So when this chair made out of cardboard has to transfer all that weight to the ground and not come apart and not break, it's really nice that the arms are an integral part of the weight-bearing system and the structural system of the chair. So that's why I like this particular chair. So that is the idea of taking your plan and then laying it out as something that is, you know, on a durable material like cardstock, cutting it out, gluing it together to build your scale model chair. When you get the scale model done, you're pretty well locked into the shapes. You can play with this a little bit. You'll be able to play with your proportions. And if you want your arms to be shorter or longer, or if you want the seat back to be longer or shorter, you know, you can make those adjustments in the final large scale cardboard chair. But it's really good to have most of these patterns all figured out ahead of time so that you're not trying to improvise this large scale with large pieces of cardboard, because you're just dealing with things that are very large, cumbersome, and much more difficult to work with and make corrections on than what it takes to make corrections in the model using the model kinds of materials. That's why it's important to make this thing like this. So I'm going to come back to you guys with my little face and ask if there's questions, comments about this process that I can, you know, help clear up or answer. And get this thing away from my forehead so I can see and talk to you guys. Any questions or comments about this? Now, this is kind of for next week. I still want you guys finishing up your drawings and your basic idea of the isometric projection this week. And we're going to get into this model building next week and transition into the cardboard thing. Next week, I think we're going to go over to the furniture store with my truck and some of you guys, and we're going to load up about somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 pounds of cardboard and bring it back to Eden Hall so that we can start building large-scale chairs. Otherwise, today, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go to Portland and pick up a motorcycle at a motorcycle shop and bring it home. So I'm not going to be here anymore today after class gets out. I'm on the road and I'm gone. So Eden Hall, the lobby will be open all day for you guys to come in. And all of those materials that I talked about, pencils, paper, measuring stuff, measuring tapes are out there. And there's a bunch of chairs out there for you guys to come in and measure and draw out so that you can finish up whatever it is that you haven't quite gotten done yet of either the isometric projection or the measured chair drawing, because these two are the first piece of coursework that I just finished and uploaded to coursework. This is the assignment. It's due on Monday, and I have then pushed out a late deadline out to Wednesday of next week. So I want this drawn up and turned in as a digital upload. You're going to have to just photograph it and turn it in as JPEGs digitally to get this first piece done. The deadline is Monday. The extension on the deadline is next Wednesday. So this is due first. And so I'm making all of this stuff in the lobby available to you guys so you can come over today and do the drawing and do the measuring of chairs. So you guys, I've been at this for half an hour now talking. Is there any questions or comments about making a model, making a little earring that you can wear on your ear of a model chair? We've got all of these demonstrations recorded, and so you can see them as YouTube recordings. Check out the YouTube recordings as one of the tabs in my Laker link for this class. And otherwise, good luck for today in getting this drawing done. Do the chair proportions and measurements, and I'd really like you guys to do this just as an exercise so you understand the idea of the three-dimensionality of the chair, the idea of taking the top, front, and side views and combining them into that isometric view of the chair. A copy of this is in the it's in the assignment. So there is a JPEG of this drawing in the assignment, and there's a JPEG of this drawing in the assignment. So you can download and print these out if you want to as examples. I'm going to also just walk these out and put them on the table outside in the lobby so that the hard copy, these hard copies are going to be out on the table in the lobby for you to look at so that you can kind of copy this too if you need to. Maddie, what's up?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I realized how hard it is to actually draw a chair.
No kidding.
Yeah, I've been trying to draw my own chair for like 3 days now, and I don't know how to do the angles, the isometric angles. So it's a challenge.
It is a little tricky because if it's not vertical, if it's not perfectly vertical, then you're having to improvise, and it doesn't have to be a perfect rendition of it, but some kind of slight off vertical angle for especially the seat back would be enough. But please do it in pencil so that you can erase, because you're going to make mistakes and you're going to need to move lines. And so if you can do it lightly in pencil until you're fairly confident about the lines, and then you can kind of lean on that pencil a little heavier or redraw it in pen. I know that I make this look terribly easy because I've been doing this for 30 years and I can sketch it. I can pretty much just freehand sketch it out. But I'm also not doing a terribly difficult thing here. Like this drawing mostly is not trying to make a three-dimensional drawing of trapezoidal solids that I don't have. The seat and the two, arms in this thing are just rectangular solids, and the only kind of thing that has any angle in it is the seat back here that's slightly angled back. So it doesn't have to be perfect in these first couple of drawings. These don't have to be your chair design. These can just be measuring an existing chair and drawing an existing chair that you can see. It's not until we get to this thing where I'm actually going to want you guys to start to build your own model and kind of play with the proportions and shapes a little bit to try to make this your own. So I hope that little piece helps, that this can be a much more rudimentary kind of a drawing. It does not have to be your finished final, your original chair design. So hopefully that helps. Anyway, I'm beating this dead horse, deader. And so there may not be much more for me to say. You guys, if there's any other questions or comments, please go ahead and ask them. You can go ahead and unmute your mic. And otherwise, the lobby is open for you guys to come in and play. Please mask up so that you guys are all wearing masks and being safe if you visit the lobby. I would love to tell you to spread yourselves out throughout the day. There's no particular time to come in and do this, but the lobby will be open from 10 o'clock this morning till about 5 o'clock this afternoon. And if you want to come over here and measure chairs, I've got all of the tools and stuff for you to measure the chairs and draw out the chair drawing and make the measured chair drawing on paper here. And actually, I don't have paper. I've got just a big pile of cardstock, and so you can do your drawing on cardstock in pencil. Take 3 or 4 pieces of cardstock with you so that you can actually build your model out of the cardstock when you get back home. So there's a big pile of cardstock out there for you to use on the table. So with that, I think I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to take off and go to Portland and pick up a Ducati at the Ducati dealer because it's ready to go. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Check out the new assignment in coursework, and what that is what I'm asking you to do in the lobby today. It's the measured drawing. So until Monday, I will see you guys. Have a really good weekend. Bye-bye.